Can Holochain explode by 450%? Let's get into it. So Chris, Holochain is something that's been kind of requested quite a bit by our viewers to kind of discuss a little bit on Holochain. So as we get into this, if you find it useful, informative, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe, because by subscribing, you're going to be kept up to date with every video and live stream that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. But let's get back onto the Holochain side of things. Holochain, Chris, has been widely spoken about in our live streams and in the comments of our videos. And people are talking about it mainly because it's seen such explosive growth recently. And this hot question then obviously comes out. Can Holochain explode by 450%? And that number we've chosen because we can kind of see it in the charts. And we're going to get into all of that stuff in good time. So stick with us and we'll show you what that 450% looks like. But some of you may be new to the space and may be thinking, what is Holochain? So Holochain, or Holo, is a peer-to-peer distributed platform for hosting decentralized applications built on Holochain itself. A framework for developing dApps that does not require the use of blockchain technology. The goal of Holo is to serve as a bridge between the broader internet and apps built using Holochain, offering an ecosystem and marketplace in which dApps are easily accessible and as they are hosted on the internet by Holo network participants. The Holo network will be facilitated by using a token called HoloFuel, which is actively being tested and will act as an accounting system to pay hosts for their services. In 2018, the project minted an ERC20 token, HOT, also known as Holo token. This I think was actually initially launched as an IOU and will be redeemable for the HoloFuel upon launch. So Holo is still in development and is expected to launch for open alpha and beta testing during 2021. We don't have any concrete dates on this, but if you know, drop those down in the comments below. We'd love to find out. I'm not going to really talk about the founders and things like that. Just going to give you a brief kind of update as to what it is, what Holochain is, and why it is being spoken about so much recently. But you might also be thinking, and I know you will be, Chris, what makes Holochain unique? So according to its green paper, Holo is designed to act as a bridge between Holochain, which represents the world of crypto technology, and everyday users. The project highlights several innovations that it says will enable a large shift in the landscape of crypto applications and currencies, including the ability to host P2P apps on the internet for mainstream users. So Holochain relies on a series of hosts that provide storage and processing power for dApps built on or built using Holochain, I should say. Hosts either install software on their computer that runs in the background and automatically allocates extra processing power to Holochain-based dApps, or they operate a dedicated machine using a Holo port. In exchange, hosts are paid in HoloFuel, a token that is specifically designed for microtransactions. And ultimately, Chris, the design of HoloFuel is expected to allow the Holo market to process billions of simultaneous transactions, which, those microtransactions are vitally important. So whichever blockchain, decides to actually master that in this space is going to do incredibly well for themselves. But that's enough about what Holochain is, Chris, because ultimately the question really that's brought everyone here is the HOT token going to explode by 450%? So let's jump on over to Chris to the desktop and take a look at exactly what's going on here.
Yeah, let's do it, Nick. I think we should probably give a little bit of clarity. This is not a project we're invested in. We're just doing this because we've been asked to review this project.
Absolutely. So this is not one that we're invested in. It's probably not one that we will be invested in at any specific time either. I think ultimately this is it's just not really kind of fitting to our portfolios, is it, Chris?
No, it doesn't tick all our boxes when we look to make investments. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad investment. It's just not our cup of tea.
Absolutely. So as we get into this chart, we can see that we have a Fibonacci retracement on here. So the only way I can make a 450% prediction work is to use the low point that was actually achieved in March of 2020. That was when the big crypto crash happened, along with the stock market, when the pandemic really hit. And from there was lots of sideways trading. And if you were accumulating during this period, you've done incredibly well for yourselves in the most recent days. So this thing was trading down here, Chris, at about 0.0006 of a cent. And it has done quite well since. You're not going to see massive like dollar values added to this thing, but you're going to see some significant percentage gains. So as we get into this, let's see what's going on. That low level, as I said, was from March, and the high level was over here, most recently on the 15th of March 2021. So almost an entire year from the bottom of the Fibonacci to the top of the Fibonacci. Okay, and we can see that we are moving up. We have actually corrected barely. I think this thing has to correct much deeper than its current position in order to actually be classed as a correction, because until you actually hit the 618 area or the 50% area or even that 382 area, you cannot really truly call that a retracement. At the moment, we're actually bouncing off of this area here, which is coming in at the 702 on the Fibonacci retracement zones. So there's still plenty of space here to the downside. There's obviously these areas just here is where we're looking to retrace to. Ultimately, these come in at 0.0059 and 0.0048, followed by, at the very bottom here, 0.0037. Those are the three areas that we're most likely going to retrace to, and we'll have to see how that plays out. But those are the areas that I'm watching for. At the moment, this here is not a retracement, and ultimately we're going to start seeing this thing pop up to the upside if it doesn't actually break this support area here. That being said, guys, sometimes you don't actually hit these at all, but the majority of the time you get a retracement into one of those three zones. That's why we always call those out. Right. Now, if we pull this, Chris, well, before we do, actually, I should say the RSI was overbought, and it's not overbought at this particular point in time. So we'll just watch that. But if we go and pull that into the 4-hourly view, the 4-hourly view shows us that this thing has quite nicely corrected on the RSI 4-hour, and therefore this thing's most likely going to bounce to the upside in the short term. So one to watch out there. And again, we can see that support coming in at the 702 on the Fibonacci retracement zones. So another key indication going on there. Now I'm just going to add the volumes back in here, and you can see how the volumes have decreased massively since that run to the upside, and that's protecting the price by having the volumes nice and low. So we'll also make a note of that. Now, as we pull this into that hourly view, again, we can see that we're actually below all of those averages as well. And, we're kind of sandwiched between the 702 as support and the 786 as resistance. And obviously, we do have the 200 moving average also acting as a bit of resistance as well. So something's going to have to change there in order for us to move further up here with the hot token. Now, obviously, we were oversold briefly over here. And because the volumes are insignificant, that's not moving the needle any way, shape or form. We actually bounced to the downside from that 50 line on the RSI, and most recently we're actually currently here at 37. So there's plenty of space to the upside if the volumes decide to actually increase, but until those volumes do, then ultimately we'll trade sideways here, and we'll have to see how that plays out. But I'm still a believer, Chris, that this thing does have to correct much deeper than it has done so far. I would like to see at least that 618 area get taken out of the equation. Then, technically speaking, we'll be in a better place. So RSI on the daily does need to be corrected more. On the 4-hourly, it's looking like a pretty good spot to bounce to the upside, as does the 1-hourly view. But with that being said, the 4-hourly and the hourly does need to have the volume to support any move to the upside, which does not seem to be there at the moment. So this thing could still correct deeper, at least on the daily, which it could be a move to see it drop down towards that 38 area or so. And if that happens, then I think you'll probably take out that 618 and maybe even the 50% retracement zone as well. And once you're down there, I think that's actually lining you up quite nice to get to the next price target, which if we go and shoot on up, Chris, and I'm just going to adjust this to the current price position that we're in there, we have the first price target comes in at 1.5 cent. Okay, so that's the first price target for the Holochain hot token. So really good stuff there. You can make significant gains by moving to that particular price point. And as we move on up, Chris, we do have the 2.4 cent area. That's the second price target for the hot token. And as again, we move on up, we have the 3.4 cent area. That's the third price target for Holochain here. And then at the very top, we have the 4 cent. Okay, the 4 cent is the top of the Fibonacci extension level, and that comes in at 4 cent. So yeah, 4 cent exactly, actually. So really key there. Now that represents currently 465% growth from the current position, right? So from where we are today all the way to that top 4 cent area, that's 465% gains available. That's what the Fibonacci is indicating to us, and it is using the entirety of what's on here as a maximum level, that lowest possible point according to Binance and the highest possible point according to Binance. So I would probably use this with caution. I would say that it's probably unlikely. I mean, it could happen for sure. It can happen technically, and it can happen, with a few $1 billion flowing in. But for now, it's it does look like a bit of a stretch target. It's having to use an awful lot of this space to be able to facilitate that. But I'd be incredibly impressed if it does happen. And with that being said, Chris, of course, we've seen some phenomenal gains so far. And if we just go ahead and actually look at the percentage gains that have been achieved so far from March through to today's current price, that represents 4,293% gains so far, with another 465 left on the table. So lots of potential still in this, Chris.
Yeah, for sure, Nick. It's a shame. For me, I don't really like the tokenomics of it. I think, there probably need to be some sort of burn for me to want to get in. But yeah, overall, I do think that, there will be some gains to be made. But it's not like some of the price predictions that I see elsewhere.
No, definitely not. So hopefully this is more realistic and maybe in line with your own thinking. If it is, hit the like button. We really do appreciate that. And of course, if you're new to the channel and you're not yet subscribed, do consider subscribing. By subscribing, you'll be kept up to date with all of the videos and live streams that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. It's free. You'll be kept informed, so why not? And with all that said and done, we hope you have a fantastic day, guys, and we'll catch you all in the next one.
Yeah, take care.